Practice session. You can hear me, yeah, Todd?
Yep.
Okay. Who'd you say?
Who am I rooting for?
You're going for, yeah.
Oh, I'd love to see the Diamondbacks do it, but I don't think they're going to beat the Phillies. It's probably going to be the Phillies and Rangers, but we'll see.
I'm surprised Phillies won. I mean, they crushed.
What's that?
All the surprises, man. All of the surprises. I mean, all right. I don't know if we're live yet or not, but I'm not. We're going to start here. A couple minutes. It's not 3. It's almost 3, 6 Eastern. Looking forward to it. Todd, you got more hair there in that photo.
I need to update that, don't I?
Hey, Dave. Hey, Dorothy. Right. Well, I don't know. I mean, is that hair's harder to come by these days?
That's probably 3 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, Jess was letting me know today that in the last probably 3 or 4 years that I've got considerably more grays for sure. So I was like, babe, but at least I got hair. See, now you know. But you're good looking. See, you're good looking, bald guy. I'm not.
I don't know about that.
Hello, everybody. We're gonna wait a few minutes here before we get started. It's just 3 o'clock on the dot before we get started. My staff sent me an email, and they said it was a template email that said, you know, I was on there. It said, you know, when doing webinars or podcasts, remember these 5 or 6 things. And the only thing I saw on there was, don't drink alcohol. And I was like, I don't drink alcohol. So why? I mean, not, you know, I do, but not on the webinar. And I was like, look, it's like a fit aid. So I want to be clear, you know, it's, you know, you guys, listeners, should be drinking. So, well, maybe you shouldn't be drinking. It's not my.
That red Solo cup's fooling everyone.
I've always had red Solo cups, even before I was drinking. And then I realized years later that probably everyone thought I was drinking. I'd go to the gym with a red Solo cup. And now I think probably at 6 a.m., they probably thought I was coming in, you know, with some alcohol. Definitely was not the case. All right, we're going to start here in a minute. Welcome, everybody. Hello, everybody. I think you hopefully can hear me. I assume you can. Can you hear me or no? We're talking about our Solo cups. Perfect. All right. Thanks, Todd. We were just talking about baseball for a quick second. So what do you guys think tonight's game? We got Arizona and Philadelphia. What's gonna happen? If you're listening and you care about baseball, I care about baseball. My team's not in there. Cubs are never going to be there. Go Phillies. All right. I think Todd bummed my Rays are out already. I think it's time to start looking at hockey and football. Yeah, Dodgers. Oof, man, bet the wrong way on that week. Dodgers, man. Can you believe that? Can't believe that. All those upsets. Astros, baseball's been all upsets, right? All right. We'll wait another minute or two. Thanks for checking in here. We'll wait for another couple minutes before we get started. 1 or 2 more minutes. Knights. That's my hockey team. Todd, do you have a hockey team?
Not so much. I'm looking forward to go and see them, as well. So have not been to a Knights game, so looking forward to it.
Any listeners here have been to the Sphere? Anyone been to the Sphere? No. In Las Vegas, I have not been. That's been like the big talk, right, in social media. Going to see this entertainment there at the Sphere in Las Vegas. That's going to be, I hear, incredible. Lots of friends have gone and gave me good feedback. So, yeah. All right. Well, it's been a couple minutes. I want to get started. Oh, good. We got some people going. The Shears are going to Las Vegas next week. Hopefully make it out to the Sphere. Oh, they're not doing a residency? Yes, they are. I thought that's what they're doing. Maybe it's over. Is it ending right now? It's ending.
No, they're still on.
Are you? Oh, they're still on. Yeah. U2's doing a residency there. Yes. All right. All the small talk, all the sports, all the entertainment. I want to get started here. And so let me first welcome everybody today. Thanks for listening and tuning in. I know there's also lots of people who register who also hear it the next day. We send out the recordings the following day. I'm really excited today to have Todd on here today. Todd is kind of been I don't know if this will come out the right way, but you've been kind of a sleeper to me. I first met you and you were kind of just quiet and unassuming. I didn't know what you were really up to, and I remember we were flying over to Florida and we talked a little bit and this was a couple of years, right? A year and a half, 2 years, 2 years ago, probably, right? Maybe a little over 2 years ago. And I there's just something about those quiet guys that and now that I've known you, you're not as quiet as I thought. But for a little while you're quiet, and you just seemed like you knew what you were doing every time. And then I started hearing you present on different real estate opportunities, in particular storage units, kind of where I know we're going to get there in a second. But Todd has been consistent and I think a process in who he is, and built a great business. And fundamentally, he's crushing it in the self-directed space. And so I in particular invited Todd and wanted to see if Todd would do a webinar with me today, because one of the number one questions people ask me after they get their self-directed IRA set up is, well, now what? What do we do? And I know that we've had actually a lot of guests, and I know, Todd, you've listened to some of them talk about different asset classes. But a lot of our guests also talk about an asset class in particular to a specific investment, which I know we'll talk about a little bit today. But Todd, in particular, what intrigued me is you've been self-directing for how long?
20 plus years now. Yeah.
So he's been self-directing for 20 plus years. And there's not very many clients. Look, Horizon Trust Company has been around for 14 years. He's been self-directing for longer than our trust company exists. And what intrigued me is that he understands self-directing so very well, loves it, and uses it on a daily basis. And so I wanted to have Todd come on and kind of just share with us a little bit about who he is, what he's doing. In fact, Todd, I think sent us an email about, earlier today and said, hey, I've got a couple slides as well that he might share with us, which is awesome. And so thanks for being prepared, but also saying yes to come on and just letting our Horizon Trust Company family, but also those that might not yet be self-directing. For those of you who are not self-directing yet and don't know what that is, you're in for a treat to hear somebody who is actually taking their retirement account, their qualified funds, and investing it in different asset classes and deferring, not paying taxes on those gains. Now, maybe at some point later, we'll talk about paying taxes, right? When you start taking those out. But today, Todd is here to talk about his background. I'm going to ask him about that here in a second, but also how he's been using his self-directed IRA over the last 20 years. And so I've got lots of questions for you, Todd. thanks a lot for being with us. And look, please know that we're definitely going to open up to questions. So please listen to kind of Todd, what he's been doing. And as always, I will say that, we're not CPAs, we're not attorneys, we're not doctors, or my friend likes to say, we're also not, there you go. We're not rocket scientists. We're here to share with you what we can, and what Todd has done specifically that's worked for Todd. And so I want to put that out there. My hope always out of these is you'll get one kind of little piece of information or nugget that you can apply to your business, to your life, to your retirement account, to make it a little bit better. And so, Todd, thanks for coming on. And to get started, Todd, just would you mind just telling us a little bit about you first before we go anywhere?
Yeah, thank you so much for that introduction. Really excited to be here today. My background started 2001. Got introduced to the real estate business kind of from a good friend of mine. I came out of another industry that I sold a business and had a very small amount of money in my pocket, and originally got started in real estate through fix and flipping homes. Couple of years of doing that, I first got introduced to my self-directed 401k, and more so as really a tax deduction than anything. I was paying roughly 37% to the feds, realizing that if I did my maximum contribution into my 401k, I believe maybe it was mid 40s back in that day, that I could save roughly $18,000 in federal income tax by making contribution to my account. Being in the real estate industry, obviously there's no W-2 match from an employer, there's no retirement plans. And so I thought it was prudent to do this for multiple reasons. The reason that I chose the 401k instead of the Roth right off the bat was because of the restrictions on the amount that could be deposited annually. Although the Roth was going to be tax-free when I took out of it, and when I was at that age, I wasn't going to get the immediate tax benefit for making that deposit. So that's really how I got introduced to self-directing. Didn't have a crystal ball. I didn't have any trusted advisor steering me down a path, telling me what and why I should do what I was going to do. Although I just saw the immediate benefit for that contribution. It was prudent. I could save the money in tax and ultimately benefit myself long term. And so out of that grew, the sectors that I am involved in real estate, I also involve in my self-directed accounts and do my passive investing through those multiple accounts as well. So it's something that served me well, and I get really excited about sharing examples, and this is something I'm passionate about. I love this part of my business, and I'll share with you that I do the majority of my business on an annual basis through my self-directed accounts. So I'm excited to share.
Well, good. Well, thanks. And I know just to preface, usually about half the audience are clients of ours at Horizon Trust, and the other half of the audience are not. And so I probably should take one quick step back and say, and just share first and foremost, if you are one of these individuals that have a retirement account with your maybe financial advisor or brokerage house, an old 401k with a previous employer, or retirement account somewhere else, you do qualify to move a portion of or all of those funds into a self-directed retirement account with a company like ours at Horizon Trust, to then unlock your money basically to invest in what you want. And for the most part, there's a few exceptions to that, but that's what Todd's been doing. And he's been, in my opinion, and don't let Todd fool you, because Todd is a humble, successful person who is using the rules that have been approved since the 70s to his benefit. And that's what I love about it is you started on a small scale, and ever since then, obviously, much, much larger. And I'll let you share what you want to share. But so that being said, if it's all right, Todd, you want to jump into a couple of things that you wanted to share and share on the screen here with everybody?
Of course. You able to see all that okay?
Yep, can see it. Great.
Super. So thank you again. Two of my main companies are Rio Grande Realty and Investments, as well as Success Storage. Rio Grande was my first company, came up through the fix and flip business and has grown to include additional holdings, as well as still an active fix and flipper. About 4 years ago, I started in the storage industry, and a wonderful partner of mine and myself and our wives have grown a nice little portfolio, currently operate under the brand of Success Storage. As I said, I've been an active real estate investor since the early 2000s. To date, I've flipped about 1,750 homes. During my career, I realized that, I didn't want to just be as good as my next flip, and didn't want to just have that to fall back on. So I started to build a multifamily portfolio about 4 years ago. I'm not active in any of that, and I do own some of my multifamily portfolio through my self-directed accounts. Those are passive investments, either as a limited partner or tenant in common, and I can invest passively since I'm not an active participant in those businesses. As I said, I've also been lucky enough to grow a self-storage portfolio. I do not own any of that in my self-directed accounts because those are active businesses. And so, one of the prohibited transactions are that those need to be passive in nature. And so things that I'm actively involved with are owned elsewhere outside of my self-directed accounts. I do have some fix and flip homes that I own through my self-directed, but the majority of what I do in those accounts is a lot of hard money lending and partnering on fix and flips. Deals are structured in many different ways, but ultimately they're owned by my self-directed accounts. Traditional fix and flip, I'll hire a contractor, product will go to market, it will be sold, and then all of the proceeds go back into my self-directed accounts.
Tom, I'll interrupt you real quick.
Yep.
Can you tell us when you are investing using your self-directed IRA and you are partnering, what are some of the last couple deals? What does that partnering look like? Is it a 50-50 deal? Just for you, I know it can be anything, but I'm just curious. People ask that question a lot. Or am I skipping ahead here? Do you already have this in here? Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I can just go to a couple of examples. Traditionally what I'll do is another trusted. So, I do business with people that I know, like, and respect. And so I'm pretty selective on who I choose to do business with. Nonetheless, being in the industry for as long as I have in Albuquerque, I've met some high quality partners that I look forward to doing business with. And generally they will bring an opportunity to me and they'll need funding. And so more times than not, it's a single family residential home. It will be either a bank owned or a wholesale deal or a stressful sale of some sort. They're buying properties undervalued, and they will do a value add proposition, gutting a house, remodeling it to any extent to get it to market value, and then they will fully retail that home. If they're a real estate broker, they will list the home and sell it traditionally. If not, then I will list it on their behalf, and we will fully retail the the single family home. And then what we'll do is, of course, I won't take a fee for any commission or anything. I'm just a partner. And so I'm secured by a deed of trust and a note for the acquisition as well as the remodel expense of that house. My partner will be 100% responsible for that remodel. And so I'm just a money portion of the deal. Of course, before I agree to do the transaction, I'll fully underwrite it. So I'm secure in an ARV, which is after repair value, and what I feel like that property can be retailed at in our market. And so then obviously the difference between the two is the yield. Let's say a deal makes $60,000. We will split that 50-50 after the disposition and closing of the asset. And so sometimes I charge interest on that. Sometimes I don't. Really, it's the nature of the deal and the history of the relationship with my partner. I'm really big on these partnerships. I go wider and, I don't want to, I'm not just going to say yes to every opportunity because, again, I underwrite the person more so than I do the actual project. People that I continue to do business with, it's for a reason. They're very good at what they do, and I don't have to do a lot of babysitting as a result. I'm not just going to go out there and give anybody a hard money loan. It's just not in my best interest. It's not kind of my model of what I like to invest in.
Okay. You want to walk us through? Well, actually, you want to go back there. I asked you a question, but go ahead. I'll let you finish up here. Yeah.
So I'll go back to kind of the beginning in how I got started in my 401k. As I said, the biggest incentive for me to open my 401k was the tax advantages and the significantly higher ability to deposit in my self-directed 401k as it compares to the Roth. What I started doing at your advice, thank you very much, a year ago is I began to convert some of those 401k funds into my newly opened Roth with Horizon Trust so that, when it came time, when I came of age and I'm taking money out of those accounts, instead of being taxable, just like normal ordinary income, now that's going to convert and it's going to be tax-free. Obviously, there's a taxable event in doing so, but my strategy as it intertwines with my self-storage businesses, I take advantage of some creative tax strategies that allow me to accelerate my depreciation on those larger purchases that creates a large loss. And so that essentially I can roll those into my Roth and not have a taxable event. I don't want to get super technical here, but that's the strategy that I've taken on, and it's worked well for the year that I've been doing it. In terms of additional strategies, as I said, I invest with proven operators that I know and like, and that's how I mitigate my risk. I'm not a big stock market guy. I'm not big on crypto or any other industries that I don't know a lot about. I know a fair amount about real estate, tangible asset. Commercial real estate especially has so many advantageous tax strategies that you can take advantage of to offset income as a real estate professional. And that plays a large role in my benefit of rolling that into my Roth. I realized that the more I knew, the more I could learn, the better advice that I would get. I was really minimizing my risk. And so I'm very comfortable today, regardless of market conditions, right? We all watch the news. We all hear about, oh my gosh, interest rates are 7.5%. Real estate's going to slow down. I'm not subscribing to any of that thought whatsoever. And I'm very confident in the market that we're in. And it's actually been an advantage for the assets that I do own in my self-directed accounts, because now I can charge more, right? Now those customers are expected to paying more. And so my rates have gone up as well. I realized that.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
well, no, I was just gonna add to that. I agree. I do feel like, and today what I'm seeing with a lot of our investors is when they're lending, like in this scenario that you've shared, when you're lending, you're able to lend on your terms. And so if you're lending at 60, 70, 80, even 90, but let's call it 80% on average of value, it kind of goes back to what we've seen over the last few decades, right? You've got security of that equity of 20 or 30% that's in that project. Furthermore, there's income coming in. I was looking at your examples you shared. You've got income coming in every month. So even if the market changes a bit, you're getting that monthly cash flow or quarterly cash flow profits that go back into your self-directed IRA. So I think that's how you limit some of your risk, right?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, that's extremely important, because I want to sleep well at night. I want to not only make money on my nest egg, but number one, I want to protect it and preserve it. Number one is the return of capital when you lend it out. It's not, all this blue sky, hey, how much money am I going to make? But I actually need the money back. So it's extremely important.
Well, look, that you laugh about that, but I remember you telling me this a while ago, and there's something to be said about that, right? We've all had deals that have gone bad, and you probably have as well, and that's why you're saying that, because first and foremost, you got to protect the money we have in there. And unlike, again, the stock market often, right, where you go up and your 100,000 is there, and then it's overnight it's at $80,000. Same thing can happen in a self-directed IRA, and that's why you focus on the integrity of the individual and the organization that you're investing in, because first and foremost, you want to get your money back. I think that's great advice for all of our investors as you guys are researching and doing your own underwriting. Obviously, it sounds silly, but protecting our money, making these gains, earning 10, 12, in your case, Todd, you showed a couple examples there of 30% plus ROI on your retirement account is powerful. And if you're doing that in a tax deferred or tax avoidance kind of way, you are miles ahead of everybody else. So I think that's super valid. Sorry, I keep interrupting you, but is there something else you wanted to share there, Todd? I know there's questions. We're going to go to your questions, by the way. Claudia's here as well, and she's going to help make sure we don't miss some of these questions. We'll go to that a little bit later, but Todd, go ahead. I think I interrupted you there.
Yeah. So, I realized that my 401k, since it was self-directed, it by itself is not going to make me wealthy, but the decisions and the choices that I make with regards to it very well may. So to give you an idea of how much and how active I am in my self-directed accounts, to date in 2023, I've done 55 deals. 38 of those have been through my self-directed accounts. And so, I have the luxury through other verticals in my business that provide me income, that a lot of my opportunities that are passive in nature, they immediately go into my self-directeds. I'm big on delaying all the gratification that's going to come from that. I don't need a ton of money monthly and annually to continue doing business the way that I'm doing it. I've been very blessed throughout time and conservative in nature, so that I have the few things that are very important to me, but nonetheless, I'm still very grounded in terms of extravagant expenses. And believe me, I like nice things, but again, I'm more than okay putting those profits away for what I'm trying to build. And in that, I've also understood that all the best deals generally come from me. They're in my ecosystem. When I said I don't go really wide on going out and searching for new deals and new investors and other aggressive movers and shakers in my industry, I really stick with the 10 or 12 people that I've been doing business with for a long time. And, they've always got a lot going on, and I don't really need to spread myself any thinner than that. There's enough deals, and that is very, has proven to be very fruitful. The last thing on my bullet point, I say start with the end in mind, develop my strategy, and remain consistent. That's extremely important. In self-directing and planning for business in all areas of my life, I really have to start and say, okay, what am I trying to accomplish and where am I trying to go? And that's proven especially beneficial when I look at my self-directed accounts. And so, I've got goals in those accounts as well, and benchmarks that I want to hit both annually and at the end of my investment career. And anything that doesn't get me closer to those goals, it goes into a different bucket. I may not say no to a deal. It just may not be in my self-directed account. So very important. It's something that served me well. A couple of examples, if you want me to go ahead and jump to some examples just to talk more about deals.
Yeah, I think examples always are helpful. I think people like seeing examples, and I also want to say, Todd, I've been in the marketplace long enough. I can tell you, as soon as you can just focus on your one or two verticals, like what you're talking about, you'll have way more success. So I couldn't agree with you more, Todd. I think when I had 5 or 6 different things going on at the same time, they were all doing okay, but you stay focused in your lane and you crush your lane. It magnifies what you're doing on a major scale. So I think that's great advice for our listeners and our self-directed investors as well. So
I can't emphasize that enough. Just me as a person, I'm okay with 2 or 3 things going on at once, but I'm not okay with 5 or 6 or more. And I really come to a limit to where, there's definite diminish in return. And, and so I can't emphasize that enough. Yeah. Just sticking, being exceptional at 1 or 2 things you can really excel in anything that you want to do. And so, jumping to a couple of examples, I looked at my spreadsheet. These are 3 deals that are all very new. The first one.
Do you want to pull that back up? I'm sorry, that spreadsheet. I think people wanted to see that. And by the way, I know people have asked questions in the chat. We're going to go to those here shortly. That's fine. I think Claudia is probably catching them. Also, you can put them in the questions and answers box as well. But I think this is what they wanted to see here. So yeah, go ahead, Tom.
You got that? Am I sharing here for you?
Yep, it's great.
Cool. So just a couple of days ago on October 13th, I made a loan to, again, a repeat customer, a friend of mine who has a small business and extremely profitable, but cash strapped, and they're doing a small expansion. And so they needed $100,000. So I lent it out on my self-directed. It's a quick return of capital, so it's payable over the next 4 months to the tune of $30,250. And every day after the 13th, it's going to be a $250 per diem. Very important. I'll just touch on structure of deals when you're working with your self-directed account is vital, and I can't say enough to that. So I'm really big on paperwork. I'm always going to have a deeded security of some sort. Most of the time I'm going to be in first position, but there's some times where I'm in second position. I'll often give a fix and flipper rehab money for a deal, in which case generally I'm in second position. I'm okay with that. That doesn't concern me, provided the underwriting of the deal supports it. And so, again, I'm with proven people that I know, like, and trust that are very good at what they do. So back to my example, this will be paid off over 4 months. So it'll be a return of capital of $121,000. So it'll net $21,000 over 4 months, which equates to a 63% annual rate of return. And I'm secured by first position deed of trust as well as the note. Second example, and
I don't know why you're not more excited about that one. That's pretty.
They're all good, and so
53%.
Believe me, I'm excited
That's
about
great.
them. These are repeat customers. They'll come back again. I mean, shoot, I'm making money on money, so it's, you know, it's important. It's a win-win, right? They could go to a bank, but guess what? They made a phone call and they got the money that day, and so they know our relationship. They were in a bind. They thought they could fix it on their own, but I was their go-to, and I can turn something around so that it's painless as far as they're concerned. Again, every one of these needs to be a win-win, and so relationships are everything in these types of transactions, because it's not cheap, it's not inexpensive, right? And so when they make that phone call to me, they know I'm going to perform, and as well as, you know, their repayment, they have a history of good performance, and I know I'm going to get repaid as well. Second example, this deal just paid off on October 12th. This is due about half the time. This is the structure of a normal loan that I do often with a fix and flipper. So on June 22nd, I lent this friend of mine $60,000. The way I structure all of these deals are, it's a 4-point fee and it's a 15% interest rate starting day one. These are quick loans. These are oftentimes deals that are already on the market. And so a fix and flipper will have bought a house maybe 60 days ago. This individual has already gone through and fixed up the property. And so, like, right now, I think I have 11 or 12 loans with this individual, and their MO, what they'll do is every time they get a house on the market, they'll come to me for a loan for generally their fix-up cost, their rehab cost. In this case, it was 60 grand, but I can underwrite the deal, and I know it's already on the market. Sometimes it's even already pending. And so sometimes these are even 30, 45-day loans, because it's already under contract for the retail buyer. Nonetheless, the structure is exactly the same. It's consistent in every scenario. It's a 4-point, 15% for 90 days. In the event the property has not been paid off, day 91, they're going to get charged another point, and it's going to go to 18% until paid. And so in this scenario, it was about 110 days, if I remember right, 120 days. And so the return of and the payoff was a net of $6,220 for their interest, which equates to a 35% APR. Again, I was in first position because this individual purchased the property for cash, did the fix up for cash. They're trying to minimize the extent of their loan and reduce the fees on that. So they waited until the last possible minute, and then they asked for the loan. Again, very lucrative. This is kind of the norm of what I do mostly in my self-directeds. I average between 30 and 35% on most deals. That's just kind of my typical transaction.
Sorry, I've got to stop you for a second. Another question for you before you give this last example. And by the way, we're going to go to questions here shortly. I wanted Todd to finish this example, but I think something that I just want you to share. Would you mind sharing real quick? I mean, what did you start at? I think you said it in the beginning, but your self-directed IRA, you started with how much in 2000? Do you mind sharing that in the beginning when you started self-directing? How much did you start with?
So in 2003, when I opened my self-directed 401k, I did my max. And so, I mean, if it was $45,000, I don't know what the limit was I was single. So what could be deposited, but that's what I started with. And then, and so for the first year or two, I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't making any of these loans. I wasn't that aggressive or knowledgeable of an investor at that point. But after a couple of years, I was able to buy a home. And so maybe it was year two, and I had, 80 or 90 grand in 2004 or 5 in Albuquerque, you could buy a house. And so, really importantly, I would buy the house. My 401k, my LLC was the deeded owner. I would hire all of my contractors. Again, I'm not an active fix and flipper on these deals. It has to be passive. I can't be doing any painting. I can't go to the dump. I can't manipulate anything. It has to be arm's length, and otherwise it becomes a restricted transaction. So, very important to know those rules. And so I hire my contractors, have contracts for the work. It gets done. It's ready to be retailed. I would list the home still. I'm a real estate broker. Don't do any traditional work, but nonetheless wanted to save on commissions and fees. And so I would list the property for sale. I would not accept a commission. Again, that violates any rule. It would get sold traditionally. And so let's say I had $80,000 in a house. Let's say it returned 110. That 110 would go back in my self-directed, and then I would do it again. And then I would do it again. And so then I got to the point where I could do 2 homes at a time. And I got to the point where I could just continue to multiply the frequency, volume, and the activity in those accounts. So I started with the absolute minimum because I didn't have anything. I didn't have anything I rolled over. I didn't have a previous W-2 where I had an employer that offered me anything. So I was starting from scratch with 100% of my own money.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to focus on, because there are a lot of people listening here that might only have 25,000 or 50,000 or 100, whatever it might be. That's a very important part, and it's so easy to get excited about. Even some of these big returns, by the way, which I don't make typically these kind of returns in my self-directed IRA. It just comes with routine. I mean, discipline, doing it over and over again. Like Todd just said, if you're in that boat, I mean, Todd, it sounds like you said over 38 deals already year to date in your self-directed. You start with one. You start with one good deal, then you do a second deal, and you just get better at it. And you learn who to lend to and who pays off in time and things like that. And so I did want to take just a step back to put a little bit of emphasis on that you don't have to be doing 38 deals or even 6 deals in a year. Get your first deal. Most likely your first deal, when you're lending 25, 50 grand on one deal, making 10, 12, 18%, heaven forbid, 60%. But let's just say 12 to 15%, you're on your way. And so if you, again, and I'm going to have you share this last example here. If you're one of those individuals that has a self-directed with us, there's so many options. If you don't have one with us, absolutely should set an appointment. I know Claudia has put up the link. Alex has put up the link where you can set an appointment for us to talk about your retirement account. If you ever wanted to learn about how you or your spouse can self-direct and invest in deals like this, and get these higher rate of returns, or at least invest in things you want, set an appointment. We'll show you how to do that, and get your account set up. So anyways, before we go to questions, you want to go over this last example here, Todd? And then I know there's lots of questions, so I want to get into that next.
Yeah, sure. So, and these are like amazing returns, and I'm not going to, underplay that, but, these are just 3 recent examples that I just pulled out that are all just the newest stuff that I have activity on. So these are not normal. I wish all of my deals were this good, but the ones as of late have been more profitable, again, because rates have gone up. And so when I negotiate these deals, again, these deals are all individually negotiated and agreed upon. And so as the environment changes and you're in a position to utilize your self-directeds, deals just get better. Going on to my third example, a friend of mine who's a home builder here in town, he may build 50 kind of semi custom, not high custom construction, but semi-custom construction, $500,000 range. Anyways, he came to me in April of 2022, so about a year and a half, and said, "Hey, Todd, will you buy these 7 lots for me? And in exchange, we'll do a purchase agreement on those 7, and I'll agree to buy them back at a greater number." So I paid $146,000 for these 7 lots, roughly $21,000 each. And then he immediately went under contract that he would purchase these from me over the next 12 months for $35K each. These are going to be kind of $450,000, $500,000 home sites. But his agreement was that he was going to close out those 7 sales on or before April 7th. Again, structure being very important. If he didn't close each of those out, then interest would begin to tick on the 35 grand. Again, at the greater number. In addition to that, he was going to pay all cost of sale. And so it was a great deal for me, and something that the builder is willing to do to free up his cash flow. And so he finally closed out the final 3 lots on September 22nd, so about 3 weeks ago. And the realized net profit of that transaction was just over $106,000. And so again, a very handsome ROI that took about 17 months. That's longer than my normal deal, but again, a very lucrative investment. I think it's important to realize we all have people in our ecosystem that we can be of service to. And so, just letting people know that you're an active investor in your self-directed accounts, opportunities will come to you. And again, it doesn't take a lot of good deals to really make a difference and move the needle.
Well, and frankly, as I look at these numbers, and I think hopefully you guys are all seeing this too, is you could move your money over with us to Horizon Trust and sit for 3 months and do nothing, literally nothing, waiting for the right deal in person or an entity, and then lend for 4, 5, 6 months and get this nice return and sit and hold again. So you don't have to always have it deployed. Waiting for the right deal is great. And so anyway, so that being said, I want to be aware of everyone's time here. So Claudia, are you on here? I'd like to invite you to come on. Claudia is part of our team at Horizon. She and her team help set up and get people's accounts set up, answer questions about how to use their self-directed IRA. She's been with our company, working with our company for a very long time, prior to working actually for Horizon Trust. And anyways, welcome, Claudia. Thanks for joining us. And is there anything that we missed that you want to share before you kind of chime in with some of the questions we've been getting that Todd and I can hopefully answer? I think you're on mute. Maybe not. Can't hear you. Nope. Do you hear Todd?
I do not.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe we're not going to hear from Claudia today. Claudia, you there? Hello? Still nothing. All right. Well, then I'm going to have to go to questions to you get your mic on here, Claudia. So I'm going to, Claudia, when you keep trying, and when you come in, we'd rather hear from you, frankly, probably than me or Todd. So try to get on here. I'm going to start answering some of these questions. Todd, you and I want to tackle some of these questions that have come in here. And a reminder: set an appointment if you want to learn more about how to use your IRA, or if your IRA qualifies to be self-directed and how much you can contribute. So. It says here, and Todd, I'm going to have you help me here. It says, are there IRS restrictions on single member real estate investment LLCs that rent to their owners? that came in. Now, does that make sense? IRS restrictions on a
Their
single
owners.
real
So
estate investment LLCs that rent to their owners. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Not sure if I understand that question correctly. I do own many rentals in my self-directed accounts. Again, those have to be passive. And so I cannot manage. I can't replace garbage disposal. I can't go trim a tree. I need to pay somebody else to do that. They need to be 100% passive investments. And so if I rent to an owner, I mean, I can rent to a customer, a tenant, but I'm not sure I'm understanding the question.
I don't know. I'm sorry, anonymous. I'm not sure if I totally understand the question either. Your IRA, first of all, your IRA can own an LLC. So that can happen. And that LLC can rent that property out to whoever it wants, except for direct family members, meaning like a father or a child. You can't do that. That would be a restriction. You could to a brother, actually. There's weird rules that you can to certain family members. We can explain that to you. So what's the minimum amount to open a solo 401k? Minimum, you can open up with really any dollar amount. I'd say the average minimum that people with our company will do is $5,000 or $10,000. But again, with a quick phone call, Gerard, we can explain and let you know most likely how much money you can contribute to a solo 401k. Just like Todd explained back 20 so years ago, the minimums were around 45,000. Now they're closer to 65,000. And before the next question, Claudia, are you on now or no?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are. All right. Okay.
All right.
All right. So I'll let you. Did we miss
Yeah.
anything, Claudia? Did you want to add anything before we answer some of these questions?
No, I do want to add that there's a lot of people saying that they want to have those kind of returns. So there's people here that have money that want to lend. They want to learn about how does it work when they want to lend, and then they want to see how you got so successful, Todd. So that was really good. Everybody's really excited to hear from you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go. So I know that you already asked the anonymous one. Did you ask the one about an agent selling the home? So doesn't it make you active if you're the agent selling the home? Was David. He wanted to go ahead and know that.
I am restricted to receive any commission income. So my office can list a home for sale as long as and it's owned by my self-directed account, provided I do not make any fees on that. I can still go ahead and my office can still sell a house that my self-directed owns.
Yes.
Yeah, and Todd mentioned passive and active several times. That can be confusing, right? We all can define passive as differently, probably just like active differently. If you're unsure, that's definitely something when you call us and talk to us, we can give you some guidance on. And also, if we can't give you guidance, we'll refer the question back to probably your CPA. And I know Todd works closely with his CPA to make sure that he doesn't get close to the line as far as what's passive and active. But it could be confusing. I could see that, like, oh, that sounds like it's active. Just so you know, being passive, you can still underwrite a deal. You can go look at a project. You can go hire a contractor or a manager. You just can't, like Todd said, you can't have the shovel in the ground or be painting. You can't do the actual work in the property, just like you can't go live in the property or vacation in the property. So those are a few questions I saw that came in. Go ahead, Claudia.
Yeah. Okay. Teresa is asking, just to clarify, when you convert to Roth, isn't there a rule that you can't take the funds for 5 years? Is that true of converted funds as well? So she wants to know what the 5-year rule is for the Roth funds.
Yeah, that's Greg's question.
It is. Yeah.
Claudia, do you want to answer? Or you want me to answer? Go ahead. Go ahead.
I can answer it. So when you open a Roth account, you do have a 5-year penalty rule. So you can't take it out for 5 years from the day that the Roth account was established, and without a 10% penalty. After the 5 years, then you can take it tax-free, penalty-free. So that's the answer to that one.
Thank you. And one thing I'll add, I saw a question early on There was someone asked about conversions, I think, of their 401k, like Todd talked about converting. He recently converted. You can convert all or a portion thereof. You get to choose. And you can also do it in segments. Like I think Todd explained, he's being very aware of his tax situation. So when he has some good tax write-offs, that's when he'll convert maybe larger chunks. Correct me if I'm wrong, Todd. And so you can convert a portion every year into your Roth bucket, which makes complete sense. We have a lot of people doing that. And so you do not have to convert all of it. And also you can pay that amount from your retirement account. You don't have to physically write out the check. So let's say you have a $100,000 account and you want to convert all of it. That amount can be paid out of those funds. And so then you might have a net of whatever, $70,000 or $80,000. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll add that it is a very strategic decision to do the conversion, right? I mean, it's a lot of tax planning going ahead because you're really looking down the road, because the last thing you want to do when you're converting is to, the last thing you want to do is to jump up a tax bracket ever. And, you're in a great position if you've got enough deductions to where your income is fully, the depreciation that you're afforded through other commercial investments is greater than the income that you're going to show as your AGI, then, say that's $100,000, you can essentially convert $100,000 and not have $1 of tax paid, because it's a 1099-R, which is a rollover. Again, I don't want to get so technical, but it's, you file it on your tax return and it just goes all the way down to your adjusted gross income. And then if there's an income to be paid tax on it, then you would have to pay it. So very, very strategic when you're doing that rollover.
Yeah. Julia's asking how long you've been a client of Horizon, Todd?
12 months now. So I opened my Horizon account September of 2022 and immediately did my first conversion into my Roth, and actively growing that as fast as possible. So I do, my goal in all of my self-directed, I have 2 self-directed accounts, but my goal always in each of those is to not have any cash in them. I'm an extremely active investor. And so if I have any cash in it, I'm going to do my next deal in there. And so that's really how, provided it checks all the other boxes as an underwriting, as I underwrite the deal and I like the deal, I'm gonna go into my self-directeds if at all possible.
Very nice. I have somebody asking, how do you become a lender using your SDIRA? So this is something that you guys went over, but what is the process? Do you want to go over that, Greg, or do you want me to go over that?
Go ahead. It's nice hearing from you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So all you have to do is set up your SDIRA, obviously, with us. And a hard money lender, you would do a promissory note. So you would pick a person or an entity that you wanted to go ahead and lend to. The borrower will be the person that you're lending to. The lender will be Horizon Trust, FBO, your account and account type. And then you would do an internal direction of investment form. That is just something that it takes 2 to 3 business days. We'll go ahead and send it to processing, review it, and then we'll go ahead and deploy the funds to wherever you're doing that hard money lending to. So it's super simple as long as the titling is correct.
Yeah, and typically, by the way, you work also add to that, thanks to Claudia, is working with the title company. So I like to have, you don't have to, but I like to make sure that the title is clean, and I like to secure my IRA as a lien on the property in a first or second position. So I think when lending, besides the promissory note that outlines the terms and who you're lending to, you also can have the collateral documentation that I think that protects you. And I know that Todd has talked about as well. So I definitely recommend that as well. Just like you do on any other deal, really any deal that you lend on, you want to make sure all the documentation is correct. You want to typically use a title company. Don't always, but typically. And the biggest difference is what Claudia said. Instead of it being in your name, it's in your IRA name. So, all right.
And then in addition, if you don't mind, just one point,
in
addition to that, I go one step further and I also executed a MOU, a memorandum of understanding. And it really just outlines in detail everyone's responsibility in a transaction. That's hugely important when you're in a fix and flip type transaction. If you're giving somebody $200,000 to go and close on a house and 50 grand to rehab, you need a clear outline, detailed explanation of what the plan is that everyone agrees to, because 30, 45 days down the road, people sometimes get fuzzy, and it's nice to have an additional document to go back to say, okay, what was everyone's responsibility in this transaction? And so again, I like to do more paperwork than not on the front end, knowing that I'll never have to do any more. And so I, again, another further way to mitigate risk is just to make sure everyone's on the same page from the beginning, middle, all the way through the transaction.
Crystal clear. It's good to be on the same page in the beginning. It's the easiest time to do it.
Yeah. David is asking, are those percentages annualized for Todd's first example?
They're annualized. I think it's just an easier barrier for me to digest. And so they're all annualized. Yeah. So for example, if I get paid back $6,000 in 120 days, I would multiply that by 3 to make an annual return, and it's just condensed time frame. So yeah, that's how because it's the same return, it's just a shorter period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. I'm having a couple people ask if you could share your email if they have any questions for you, Todd.
Maybe is Alex on here? Go
Yes.
ahead. Oh, there you go. You can put that slide up there too. But I think Alex, you can put it in the chat box too for everyone. There you go.
In addition to that, if anybody can reach out to me, I'm happy to help provide, documents. Again, I'm not an attorney or an accountant or anything other than an active real estate investor, but nonetheless, I'm happy to share, pro formas, notes, deeds of trusts, memorandum of understandings in Word documents so that you can manipulate those to your own situation and just have something else to refer back to. So if any of that is helpful for anyone on here, just reach out to me and share your info, and I'm happy to provide.
And I want to just echo that all of our guests and especially today, this is Todd on Todd's time. He's not getting paid for this. He's not looking for money or deals or anything like that. He's truly wanting to give of his information, his education, his experience of what's worked. We could probably go on and on. But I thank you for Todd for being on here. Let's answer a few more questions. In fact, there's one or two here, Claudia, that I see. I want to tackle kind of quick. Can I use my self-triggered for the down payment and renovation costs for fix and flip with me taking out a loan for the rest? You can. You can use your IRA for all those things. What you can't do is get recourse financing, meaning I can't get a personal loan like you typically do from a bank. Let's say that lends to me $100,000, but my IRA puts up the other, what you said, Julie, the down payment renovation. What you can do is get a non-recourse loan. So the example I just gave you, there's non-recourse lenders that like to work with our investors, or I should say our clients at Horizon Trust. So if you're looking to purchase something and also get a non-recourse loan, you can absolutely do that, Julie. A couple other questions here. I was trying to do a couple quick ones. How and where do you find lending deals? I think that was something throughout when you're talking, Todd. Everyone was like, how are you finding these deals? Where do you want them? Or where do you get them? Real quick, let's both answer that question, and it might be the same answer. There's so many different resources and communities and social media communities are, these real estate get-togethers, being out there, listening to things like this, the more you engage and educate yourself, you're just going to start running into it. And all of a sudden you're going to have a bigger problem. Actually, the bigger problem is what deal to do. In the beginning, you might be like, I don't know, I don't have any deals. All of a sudden you start putting yourself out there, listening, informing yourself. Then all of a sudden you're going to have so many deals to look at, you get to pick and choose and wait for the right one. But Todd, go ahead. Will you share anything else as well to someone who's saying, how do you find these lending deals?
Yeah, I'll second that. Going to your local REI meetup, go down to the courthouse steps. I've done many foreclosure deals. Those people down there on the courthouse steps, they're the buyers. They don't always have the cash. I mean, people aren't walking around with millions of dollars in their pocket. They're looking for hard money loans to run their business. It happens all the time. Again, you don't need a lot of these clients to really make a difference in your self-directed. And, again, you're doing business with people that you know and trust. And so you really need to underwrite the person. And once you get past that, they have a good reputation. They're not going anywhere. They're proven success. You could try a deal, just do a deal. Like I'm big on, you just do it and you figure it out. Now your paperwork needs to be tight on the front end. And again, I'm happy to help and assist in structure. And, once you do one, you can do 1,000. I mean, they're all the same.
Sure.
They're all very similar.
A couple quick last questions I want to get here because I want to be respectful of your time and also others are listening on here. Don't lend the whole enchilada. Thanks, Julia. I agree. Olivia, this is a good one. I think just if you've got questions in particular, Todd's giving you his email. You have my email. It's been up on here. We didn't get to go to everybody's question. Which CPA do you use, Anonymous? You can feel free to email Todd. He might share it with you. He might not, but feel free to email him as far as which CPA he's using. As far as commingling non-IRA money, Olivia, maybe if it's your non-IRA money with potentially your husband's IRA money, there's actually ways of doing that. But you got to be a little bit more careful about it. Talking about making sure your books are done right. I typically don't recommend it. Can you do it? Sure. But there's a lot more ways that you can, things go wrong when you start commingling family members' money that's non-IRA and IRA. I prefer individuals and family members to use both their IRAs. So like, let's say Todd and his wife both have self-directed IRAs. They both can pari passu go into a deal with their IRAs and flip deals. And it can be at different percentages. Lisa's probably has way more than Todd because she's way smarter and bright. No, I'm joking. And it has a bigger IRA and she could be 80% of the deal and Todd could be 20% of the deal. So well, look here, let's try to wrap up here. I know our timing's kind of come to an end and there's been a lot of questions. If we have not answered your questions, please email me directly or Todd directly. The purpose of this really was just to, hopefully this is helpful to those of you listening here. Thanks for hearing some of our responses. Also Todd's experience. It's been really, really helpful to hear someone that's actually been self-directing for over 20 years. And so that's impressive to find. It's not very easy to find. And so thanks, Todd, for sharing with us. So before we wrap up, I'd love to ask you my question. You've been on before, at least listened before. I'd like to just ask you your question of your sweet, sour, and service. Tell us this last week, your sweet, sour, and service, so everyone gets to kind of hear you in closing. Any last final thoughts as well with us, Todd?
Yeah, again, thank you so much to you and Claudia and your team for setting these up. These are very valuable. I've loved to be a part of each one of these, mostly just listening and gaining knowledge and learning. So I hope that I've shared a little bit of insight and wisdom with others and get them thinking. So again, anything I can do for anybody, certainly don't hesitate to reach out. Sweet in the last week, I've got a 2-unit storage portfolio that in the last couple of days, we have gotten through our contingency period. So the buyers, I'm selling these. The buyer, their earnest money's gone hard. I bought these September of 2022, so owned them a year. And we are tripling the value of the facilities and almost 6xing our cash in the deal, and we're going to close in about 3 weeks. So amazing.
That's a big sweet.
Yeah, that is awfully sweet. Sour, another one of my storage locations in the last couple of days, there was a police chase, and the perpetrator is actually a customer of ours and was far enough in front of the police car that he could punch in his code and get in my facility, and then barricaded himself in his 10 by 10 unit. And our wonderful police force, instead of getting a lock a bolt cutter or a grinder or something like that, decided to start opening up garage doors like cans of soup. And so right now I've got a number of doors that are just mangled until they could find this guy and drag him out. Interesting enough, I'm also under contract to sell this facility, but lucky for me, the walkthrough was the day prior. And so I'll be able to fix these in time and no one will be the wiser for it. So that was an interesting.
That's a good sour. All right. That's probably the best sour I've heard on these webinars. Go ahead. And your service.
Service. My wife and I are really excited. We like to give back. And so we are right now in partnership with our church to free slaves in Pakistan. Sadly, what happens there is people will have a terrible event, maybe someone breaks a leg or a health issue of some sort, and these people make absolutely no money. And so there's brick plants that make mud bricks in Pakistan. And so the owners of these plants will look for these people that are in dire need. They'll pay their medical expense and then they'll become slaves. And so, we're meeting people that are slaves for 20 and 30 years, and their families are indentured servants to repay this debt that can never be repaid. And so we're paying off people's slavery bills for, $600-800. And they've been slaves for 20 and 30 years. And then piggybacking on that, then what we're doing is we're buying rickshaws, we're buying, stands at the local bazaars and markets. And so that, the hope is that this doesn't repeat itself and that now they'll have a leg up, an opportunity that wouldn't otherwise be afforded to them, so that the whole cycle doesn't repeat itself for generations to come. So we're really proud and excited to do that. So,
and thank you for sharing that. That's incredible. I'm so glad that I know you, and I'm so glad you're a client of ours. And you're just really nice to hear good people doing great things. Great people doing great things. Todd, you're definitely one of those. Thanks for sharing with us today, giving up your time. And we appreciate you. And by the way, just once again, it's the simple little things. And it starts with just your first investment. Todd is obviously on the top of his game. Maybe even, I know he's doing even bigger and better, but you too can be there. And so start with doing your first deal. If you haven't self-directed, it's time to self-direct. Set an appointment. Learn how to use your retirement money to start investing and changing lives and changing your life, frankly. And if you have an account with us, start being more active. Keep educating yourselves. Hopefully these webinars have been helpful to you. And thank you so much, guys, for listening. And look forward to hearing and hearing some of your questions and things here to come. So thanks, Todd. Thanks a lot for being here.
Thanks, guys.